The Honda Unicorn first came into the market back in 2005. It has since remained one of the most reliable and comfortable motorcycles in the 150cc segment. Honda have also regularly updated the motorcycle to keep it fresh and interesting. Rahul bought his motorcycle back in 2010 and uses it as his daily commute and for occasional touring. He has clocked a massive 93,000 kilometers in the last 6 years and joins us today to share his ownership experience. Hello Rahul, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Hi Aarti, pleasure is mine too.
So Rahul, could you please tell us about the Honda Unicorn with your experience?
Sure Aarti. Back then, about 6 years ago when I was looking to purchase a bike, my main concern was I needed a city bike as my work required a lot of commuting from one point to the other. And in its segment, I found this to be the finest bike. I was very impressed by the refinement of the engine. It had a very smooth flow. And when I went for a few test rides, this and other bikes as well, and also from what reviews I had got from other friends and acquaintances, I had also read up quite a bit. So from my previous bike, when I was switching over, I had a Splendor earlier. I found that this bike had a more powerful engine, better looks, and not to mention it had very good pickup. So I was quite impressed with what I saw, and that's how I went in for this bike. And I have to say that it's been like a dream. It's been an absolute charm riding this bike across the city traffic, the roads notwithstanding the potholes and all. Having said all of that, I have to say that somewhere the engineers who made this bike, they've ensured that there's always good linear power flow that happens, and it doesn't quite start off all of a sudden and doesn't quite accelerate suddenly. What happens is it kind of it gradually enhances the speed, and that actually gives you a very smooth cushion feel. You feel very comfortable riding the bike, and like I said, last 6 years it has been a pleasure owning this bike and riding it. That's how I came to be riding this bike. Like with any other bike in the 150cc segment, this also comes with a uniform and the universal pattern of first gear down and 4 gears up, which is very comfortable because you already know how the gear shift pattern works, and it works very smoothly. No matter how much traffic is there, you don't feel the strain when you're shifting gears. It's very smooth. And apart from that, I've also seen that the refinement of the engine, because that's what Honda's engine was known for, that actually goes a long way in ensuring that you have a smooth, comfortable ride. Because I had a previous bike which was a Splendor, so it also gave me quite a smooth ride, but this kind of enhanced that, which is why I loved when I took this bike. And like with any other bike, from individual to individual, you have personal preferences. So I think personally I would have also liked a digital console, which this bike doesn't have. If you want to call that a drawback, then you could call that as a drawback. However, the dials, all the speedometer and all the other dials are very nicely positioned. So while riding, you don't have to take too much off the road. Your eyes can be on the road, quickly look at the dials and then again adjust. So that way it's quite good. And also maybe an engine kill switch if I'm not asking for too much. So that also would have made it really awesome. Apart from that, I don't see any other drawbacks as such. However, like I said, it all differs from person to person. We all have our personal preferences. For me, back then, in that time, for a 150cc engine bike, which is going to be used for a city ride purpose, I thought this was the best option that I had at that time. The entire package, the entire offering made a lot of sense to me, and it still does.
Okay, so how does it feel to ride this bike around, as in terms of handling, comfort, stability and braking?
I think when it comes to handling, this has been too good to be true, because as you know, on Indian roads where you have to take a turn, the sudden turns, it always matters how you take those turns. And although this is quite a heavy bike, but maneuvering it and taking those sharp turns has been very nice and easy. And the seats have been so nicely designed and positioned that no matter how long you're sitting on them and riding, even with a pillion rider riding along, the engine doesn't let you down, the seats don't let you down, the bike is very easy to handle and maneuver. And apart from that, I've also seen that where there are potholes, there also it is pretty good, because it has a good suspension, shock absorbers are nice. So yes, for Indian traffic conditions, this has been absolutely a charm. Aarti, when it comes to the suspension department, I have to tell you that this was one of the first things that I was initially fascinated by. and that's what got me to take a test ride on this bike. Back then, there were no mono suspension bikes, and Honda, this model of the Unicorn, kind of led the way. It was a pioneer back then. Today, you have all the bikes mono suspension. So I'm quite impressed till date. I'm very happy with it. Just that sometimes you have to watch your back when you're going over deep potholes, because if you're not very careful, then you might end up with a sore back. Otherwise, very smooth, especially for Indian roads. And if I have to talk about the brake section, then in the front there is this 240 disc brake. The rear there is this 130 drum brake, and I wouldn't quite say I'm absolutely satisfied with this, because I believe it lacks that initial bite. I'm not completely happy with it. It could have been better. They could have, especially when you're trying to suddenly brake. In Indian conditions, it almost always happens. So yeah, that's one department which kind of left me, a lacking feeling. Otherwise, I'm also happy with the tires. It came as stock MRF when I bought it, and they had very good life. The treading on the tires was something which I was very impressed with, because be it conditions where the road was wet, or be it conditions where there was a lot of sand on the road, it has always taken a good ride. And for the bike's life to be enhanced, the tires also have to be good. So I'm very happy that way with this bike and the tires that it came with.
Alright, so how about owning and maintenance of this bike? Is it easy on the pocket?
Well, Aarti, depends on how deep your pocket really is, but not really. I mean, it's been quite an easy thing, not much of a hassle. Every 6 months or so, the moment we've covered about 3,500 kilometers, we give it for servicing. And therein, like you said, the damage to the pocket is about 800 to 1,000 rupees, including the service oil change. I'm sorry, the engine oil getting changed. Apart from that, I have to say that at every about 15,000 kilometers or so, if you can get the the drum pads and the fork oil change, that will be ideal, because that's what I also did. And from my personal experience, I also like to mention that the Honda service station where I used to give it didn't really have much of a good experience there. In fact, some horror stories, to be honest. So I now personally prefer giving it to a local mechanic. There's a garage that he has near my house. I think we all have our personal preferences. You would relate to that probably. But having said that, Aarti, I'd also like to mention that the mileage is something that Honda had promised. For city rides at least it'll be 60. Let me share with you, it's just been about 45 in city. Maybe the bumper to bumper traffic has something to do with it, I'm not sure. But even on the outskirts, I've seen that only about, say, 50. It goes up to about 50 kilometers per hour. Per liter. So yeah, so I mean that department, if Honda can work on and come out with better mileage, it would have been great. But again, coming back to the bike in totality, considering that it's a 150cc engine with mono suspension and all the other things like the smooth engine functioning and all of that, I think it's all right if you're not getting that particular mileage. Somewhere there's a give and take. I don't mind giving that away if I'm getting the rest of the thing, which is very impressive. All in all, a very good to use city bike, and all in all, a very good experience so far in the last 6 years.
Okay, Rahul. So, do you say that this bike is good as is, or do you have recommended changes on it to make it even better?
The bike is good as is, I would say that. However, if I'm not asking for too much, then yes, maybe if it could support a digital console and along with an engine kill switch, I think that in its forthcoming models, if Honda can include, it'll make this bike, the Unicorn, an unbeatable bike, almost unbeatable in its 150cc engine segment, especially with that price tag. Having said that, if there is other things that users might want to upgrade in this bike, depending on personal preferences, maybe the tires. Those who would wish to go for upgraded tires, you could upgrade the tires, as well as some of those who are riding more at night. Then yes, they can upgrade the headlights so that there's more throw on the road. Apart from that, there's nothing much that I can think of. All in all, it's a pretty good bike. It's good to go, especially if you're looking for a city bike. Then with a good powerful engine, smooth engine, then this is it, definitely.
Alright, Rahul. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs.
Thank you, Aarti. It's been an absolute pleasure being here in the company of someone as charismatic as you. And I hope that my inputs is going to help any prospective buyer out there. Thank you.
So guys, that's the Honda Unicorn for you all. Hope you all liked the video. Do share your comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.